Hey there, YouTube. I just want to talk to you about a real quick subject. As you know, I enjoy a good handy pocket knife from time to time, and I want to talk to you about one that I picked up more than a year ago and have used on and off throughout a year, called the 511 Tactical DRT Folding Knife. Um, again, from 511 Tactical. It's the plain edge version with kind of olive drab grips and a blade design partnership with Mike Velicamp from Blade Tech. It's AUS 8 steel with a HRC 67 to 60 hardness, with a 2.85 inch plain edge spear point blade, a Teflon coated carry clip. There are a number of things in this kind of smaller palm sized package that are attractive with the black oxide coated blade and liner and the injection molded grip and lanyard loop, yada yada yada. And so I picked one up, as maybe some of you guys have, and I just want to let you know my impressions of it after using it on and off for slightly over a year. All right, I am going to tell you just straight up, cutting to the chase, that my opinion is to put this on the do not buy list. That's right. I would say that though it's a budget-friendly price point, I personally would not repurchase this particular knife. Just a couple things. First of all, the screws on the clip begin to kind of work their way out early on in ownership. That's not really a big deal. Lots of knives from lots of manufacturers do that. A little Loctite applied and you're good to go. Also, the clip rides lower than I would personally prefer, but again, that's true of lots of manufacturers, not a big deal. Moving on, this was kind of funny. The grips that 511 markets as one of the major selling features because of their toughness, their durability, etc., they were actually a bit more brittle than some of the grips from other manufacturers. At least that's been my experience. As you know, most of the time a pocket knife will take a spill from time to time as we use them. I drop them in parking lots, etc. And whereas most of my knives with similar material would get a dent or a scratch or whatever, this actually chipped on a couple of occasions. Again, still functional, not a big deal, but not as durable as one might expect with the injection molded plastic here. Perhaps I just dropped it in the exact right way at the exact right time and the exact right temperatures, but certainly haven't abused the knife and have used other knives harder without failure. So that's my experience. Again, take it for what it's worth. Now, this is where we get to what for me is a deal breaker. For me, this is why I would not recommend this knife. It's the liner lock. The liner lock does not engage nearly as positively as other options. You have to be very intentional about making sure that the liner lock is fully engaged before you use this knife. If you do that, you can be pretty confident that it's going to hold in place, but it's not as engaging and as positive as other options. That being said, even when it is in place, because it doesn't engage as far, at least my example doesn't go as far in the locked position as others, the lock itself underneath, it doesn't move as far across the opening. You can still, with hard use, create failure easier with this blade than with some others. That's been my experience, at least. That being said, for your everyday use of a typical pocket knife, if you're aware of what it takes to make sure that this knife is locked, and you're aware that it's fully engaged, and you don't try to just whip it out and trust it too readily, you shouldn't have issue. But for me, I don't want to go through all that. And at this price point, it may be a big deal, it may not be a big deal for you. But for me, there are less expensive options that I find more functional for my purpose. So let's move on to what I would say in this price point. for what I perceive to be this purpose, I want to point out one of the options that I would personally select over the 511 offering. I would select the Kershaw Shuffle over the 511. And now most people would say that the Kershaw Shuffle's steel or whatever is not as nice. The coating is not as expensive as the DRTs, and that's probably true. So far, I haven't seen a big difference between the function of the two. And what I will say is the form factor of the Kershaw is more, or whatever, it is more functional. It's got a thinner profile, a similar if not lighter weight, and the rear uh, metal uh, location to be able to hook onto keys or whatever is functional. It also protects the grips, so when they fall, they're not going to break. And that location could be used to break glass if need be. The clip is able to be uh, switched from side to side and is deep carry. It has a bottle opener on it. Uh, you have just as much usable surface on the blade. Again, it's just overall, I think, a better made or better executed knife. But again, the main thing for me is the lock. The liner lock is super positive, very engaging. Not only has it performed well, not only is it thinner and maybe a bit lighter, but ultimately it just works. The liner lock is far more secure and I can't press it to failure. So for me, I would select the Kershaw Shuffle over the 511 Tactical DRT. Besides all that, the Kershaw offering is $7 to $10 cheaper. So there you go.